podcasting's choice. From coast to coast, continent to continent, right here 24/7.
PMR.
This it was given me to know, that many worlds have been enslaved by the beast and his army, the Slayers. And this too was given me to know, that the beast would come to our world, the world of Krull, and his black fortress would be seen in the land. That the smoke of burning villages would darken the sky, and the cries of the dying echo through deserted valleys. But one thing I cannot know, whether the prophecy be true, that a girl of ancient name shall become queen, that she shall choose a king, and that together they shall rule our world, and that their son shall rule the galaxy.
Cavebabble. Hello and welcome to Cavebabble episode 248. This week's episode, Krull. That's how you have to
spell that?
Krull. It's Krull. It's
Right.
Krull. It's the
Not
name.
Krall.
No, that would be that would be Krull.
Yeah.
No, it's Krull.
Krull.
Yeah, right. It's the name of the planet, by the way.
Oh, is that where they got the name from? Okay.
You didn't know. It's not the name.
No.
It's not the name of the main guy. It's the main guy. The main guy. The protagonist. It's not the antagonist. It's the name of the planet.
Planet that the aliens came from?
No, the planet they're currently on.
Oh, the planet they're on.
Yeah. Well, you didn't think it was Earth, did you? This episode is brought to you by Pinstriped Hiking Tights.
Yeah, they're awesome. Well, they're not pinstriped.
Yeah,
They were just striped. Pinstriped, like a pinstripe suit, where the stripe is just really, really tiny.
Here, I'm going to do it again.
Okay.
This episode is brought to you by Circus Striped Hiking Tights.
There. Perfect.
Is that better for you?
Striped tights.
Hi, everyone. This is Eric.
This is Valerie.
And what are these things we are sitting in front of? These microphones?
Who are
what
we?
the hell are they? I don't even know what it is anymore. We won't bother telling you everything about our lives.
Nah, it's boring. That's why.
Yeah.
No, actually, it's the opposite. We've been busy.
Oh, yeah.
Busy with life.
Oh, we couldn't possibly have sat down for an hour and recorded anything.
Well, we've been doing lots of recording. You just haven't posted any. We've done lots of D&D recording.
We are playing D&D. Yours and my first campaign with pen and paper,
See,
as they
right.
say. Amber, Kevin, and Courtney have done it before. I guess they've done campaigns together, right?
I think so.
Just not much, but a couple, I guess.
A little bit. Mm-hmm.
And Kevin's done more than that. I think we talked about this last time. It doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm. But that's what we've been doing.
Yeah, we have been. We've been going over to their place, and it's pretty cool. Amber is our DM, and she has Kevin set up a projector so that it shines down from this PVC setup he has, and it shines down on a dry erase board, and she can swap things around with her laptop, and has all of her little walls set up so we can't see anything.
Yeah, she does a great DM.
And we all try to act as if we can't see what the dungeon looks like when she projects it, when we're not supposed to be able to see it, but it doesn't really work that way.
Because you can see it. You just got to pretend to only see the room that you're in.
Yeah. Right, exactly. And just manage to go over toward that wall that you know something's over there, even though you can't know that. And things like that. And that's about it. And that's D&D.
Yep.
And what's your character?
I am a druid elf.
What's your name?
Crystal.
I love you. Crystal.
They've been giving me a hard time about my name, but this isn't about D&D.
Oh, yes, it is. I'm Health. Health the half-elf.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. See?
We could have lived on Krull. Let's just say that.
Yeah.
All right, let's just get into it because we have a lot to cover because this is a classic.
It's the first time I've seen it, but it's a classic for you.
I cannot believe, honestly, I can't believe this is the first time you've seen it. We had to have watched it at some time.
I do not remember it.
I can't remember the last time I did, but I'm almost positive it was streaming that I watched it. It's been years.
You watched it in the middle of the night.
But I have seen it within the last decade. So I don't know. It doesn't really matter. It's a guilty pleasure. It's a cult movie now. It's a cult classic. What in the world are we talking about? Come on, join us on the planet Krull. From 1983, directed by Peter Yates, it's Krull.
On a distant planet, a great kingdom was ravaged by beings who came from the future to conquer the universe. Now, the only survivors follow a doubtful seer and a throneless king. At the end of an impossible journey, they must fight an invincible enemy.
Here's the knowledge you seek.
I shall be your king. What is about to happen to them could never have happened on Earth. Columbia Pictures presents a world apart from anything you have seen before. Krull.
Krull. They didn't say that any time in it.
No, they didn't. That's why I didn't catch that was the name of the planet. So not sure if that's a really good title.
Wait. How many times have you been with a group and you've all been chanting, Earth, 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 Earth?
Yeah, but at least they'll start out, the year is 2020 on planet Earth. No, they gave me no idea that was the name of the planet.
The world of Krull.
There may have been something in that opening, blah, 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 and...
the world of Krull.
And the princess shall marry a man, and they'll rule the world, and blah, blah, blah.
Maybe.
And they will rule Krull.
The world of Krull.
By the power of the glaive.
But maybe this is, because you said this is based on a book, so maybe if I'd read the book, I would have realized that was the name of the planet.
I said it was based on a book?
I thought you did.
I never read that book.
Never mind.
This was back in '83, and there was a game. There was a video game that was at our arcade, one of our arcades. I played this video game. As a matter of fact, I think I played the video game before I'd even seen the movie. I don't think I ever saw the movie until, I don't know when, the first time. Sometime in the 80s, but I don't think it was before '83. I mean, before '84 or '5 that I saw it. Doesn't matter. Directed by Peter Yates. Peter Yates directed some classic movies like Bullet. He directed that one. Breaking Away. You know the movie Breaking Away?
Breaking Away.
Yeah. About the bicycle race and the four kids living in the small town, and the one is all into bicycle racing.
Oh, okay.
Dennis Quaid's in it. You know it?
Yeah.
And they all swim in the local quarry. And and The Deep. That's another one of the ones that he directed. That's Jacqueline Bisset and Nick Nolte.
Oh,
and
okay.
That's based on a Peter Benchley book. Yeah. I remember seeing that. That was like 78, 9, somewhere. I can't remember. But yeah, underwater stuff. Bunch of underwater stuff. And morphine, ampules of morphine that are underwater, as I recall. And there's a really scary scene with an eel. There you go. And
the eel was taking the morphine?
No, the eel was munching on Louis Gossett Jr.'s face, as I remember. I think he was in that movie.
Eating somebody's face anyways.
So, anyway.
And then that person was taking the morphine.
Yeah, and then there was Krull.
And then there was Krull.
It all comes around. So, what in the world is this about? First, before we give the stars, I have got to read this description, this lovely description on IMDb, on which this film gets a 6.1, by the way, out of 10. Here's what IMDb says this movie is about. A prince and a fellowship of companions set out to rescue his bride from a fortress of alien invaders who have arrived on their home planet, called Krull. Yeah, that's about right. And the leader of the bad guys is called the Beast. And they are, what are they called? There's the Beast and what were
Slave.
The Slayers.
What were,
Slavers.
is that what they called them? Slayers. Slayers.
Slayers. Not
Slayers.
slavers.
Slayers.
Slayers.
They are slavers, but they were the Slayers.
The Slayers.
Slayers.
That's right. So this is a mix of sci-fi and fantasy, and it's weird, and it's like the cast of Excalibur is visiting the future and the past.
Yeah, it was quite an amalgamation of stuff.
The Slayers, they're like firing laser beams, and also the other side is a blade. And they would all fire off their weapons, like they have terrible aim, by the way, just like stormtroopers in Star Wars. And then they would still be way out there, and instead of continuing to fire, they would flip their weapons around and then slowly stomp in to fight them with their little blades.
Yeah.
Why didn't they just keep firing at them?
Because I guess,
make sense.
you've got your range weapons and your close combat weapons.
But it'd be kind of like standing out at ranged and then flipping your weapon around and then walking the rest of the way in.
Well, maybe because, it takes an action to bring out, to switch from their range weapon to their close combat weapon.
Yeah. Well, first of all, why in the world is the Black Fortress here? The Black Fortress is the name of the ship, I guess.
Right.
Because it arrives at the beginning of the film, just like Star Wars, it goes flying over.
You can't tell me that it came just for the princess. I mean, she is beautiful, but
I just assume he's just going around enslaving people and stealing people and doing whatever. I don't know.
Many worlds have been enslaved by the Beast and his army.
he specifically wanted the princess, though.
Yeah, he did. She's like Zelda. That's all I could think, is that Link needs to go on a quest because, man, Ganon has Zelda again.
Da, 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 da.
Okay.
Well, that was one song that they didn't play.
No, they didn't. Oh, yeah, we'll get to that part too. Yeah, don't let me forget to talk about music.
Okay.
But this Black Fortress that arrives, you thought it didn't look like rock. You thought it looked like a
tree stump.
like a tree stump,
Yeah.
like a tree stump in space.
Yeah, it looked like the texture of a tree stump, not rock.
And the cool thing about the Black Fortress is it comes and it lands, and then I guess it's at every nightfall, right? Mm-hmm. At every nightfall, it disappears and reappears somewhere else on the planet's surface.
Yeah, and what's the purpose of that?
I'm thinking, I don't know, so that no one can come and take him on, even if you do have striped.
Because if you're traveling to the location and it takes you more than a day before you even get there, it's into a different location. Yeah.
Right, and no one knows where it's going to show up next. Or do they? It's a fantasy film. There's always someone,
Someone who knows.
No one can figure it out. Well, there is one way. Well, maybe you should have told us that at the beginning, and we would have gone there first. If you knew there was one way for us to do it. There's always one way for us to do something or other.
There was more than one way,
But if this fortress has the ability to transport, like, phase in and out, why would it even need to land anywhere? Can it just teleport itself to a different planet?
And just hover. Yeah.
Maybe, it must have a limit to how far it can go, but certainly if you can go from one end of the planet to the other, you could, you wouldn't have to land anywhere from orbit. You could just bloop, and you're there.
Right. And once he abducted the individual, the princess that he wanted, why didn't he just take off and go back home? He had what he wanted.
Right. Why is he sticking around?
Then we wouldn't have a movie, though.
Are they there to enslave everyone? I don't know.
Many worlds have been enslaved by the Beast and his army, the Slayers.
Like I said, that did weak plot because it didn't say why they were there.
Many worlds have been enslaved by the Beast and his army, the Slayers.
I think they're
Or
there
if it did, it didn't retain it. Yeah. I didn't retain it.
So you have these typical fantasy characters. You have this fortress, this white fortress, which looked really cool, by the way. I can say the sets were pretty ingenious. They spent some money on this movie.
Yeah, they did.
But it's in that early 80s fantasy style where it's hard to take seriously. And until Lord of the Rings came along, we had a lot of fantasy films that were like this.
Uh-huh.
They were just kind of goofy and not very serious. And the sets were really cool. Sometimes the costumes, this one actually had pretty good costuming. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and they were just kind of sword and sandal things. But this one had a budget, obviously.
Yeah, because I thought it had, some good costumes, and I thought the sets were quite elaborate.
Oh, man, we're getting way ahead of ourselves. I didn't even go through
are.
cast. I am so sorry.
Yeah.
So let's do it. Let's.
Who's in this movie?
I'll switch it around.
Sometimes I wonder why I don't do this show on my own.
Yeah, who is in this movie? We have the unholy son of Chris Pratt and...
Oh, right. Chris Pratt and who?
And Dennis Quaid.
Oh, Dennis Quaid.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
It's like the son that they had together that was too old for them to have as a son, and that's Ken Marshall.
Ken Marshall was born June 27th, 1950 in New York City, New York.
New York City.
So trivia on him, he attended Juilliard alongside Christopher Reeve and Robin Williams and Kelsey Grammer.
Oh.
Interesting. And he was one of 6 children.
6, huh?
6. He started out by attending pre-med at a college in Michigan and then decided he didn't like science, so he dropped out and continued with his English major until he decided, forget that, he wanted to be an actor.
So he did. And now he was an actor.
But he wasn't in very many films, was he?
I know him, I'm trying to say most recently, and this is not recently, this would have been the 90s. He was in Deep Space Nine for a while.
Okay.
He played a Starfleet guy that became disillusioned with Starfleet and ended up joining the Maquis. And you wouldn't have thought he was as hot because he was balding at that point.
Oh,
I'm sorry to disappoint you. I know that you would never be caught dead with a bald man.
Oh.
I can't imagine you ever, doing that. But,
sure. No.
but he really does. I mean, in this movie, he really does kind of have that, Chris Pratt, Dennis Quaid thing going on.
Yeah, he does. Uh-huh. Because I almost said, is that Chris Pratt? Oh, it can't be because this was the 80s and Chris Pratt probably wasn't even born yet.
Well, he was, but he was young.
Yeah,
quite
toddler.
young at that time. But yeah, you're right. It does. And like you say, not everyone can wear tights like that. Not everyone should. Maybe not anyone should, but
he carried it off.
But they were striped, babe. I mean,
but you found it distracting.
No, just funny. And he had his striped tights and his little pirate shirt, his puffy pirate shirt.
Yeah.
And he went hiking in it like that.
Yeah.
Okay, moving on. Now with he played Colwyn, by the way. Not Krull.
Not Colin. Colwyn.
Colwyn. Colwyn.
I think perhaps it is Colwyn.
And playing Lissa is Lisette or Lisette. Lisette is probably Lisette.
She didn't have to, have much of a name change, did she?
Yeah, Lisette Anthony.
She was born September 26, 1963 in London, England.
I'm trying to think if I know her from anything else, and I don't think I do.
Oh my goodness, she 1, 2, 3. She was married 3 separate times. Wow. But that's not uncommon for
Wait a minute.
Hollywood.
Wait. Are you saying she didn't marry Colwyn? And rule the planet with him forever?
The Earth.
Are you kidding me?
And she's not a redhead.
She's not a redhead? Oh, okay. Is this part of her trivia? Seriously?
Either that or her hair is dyed blonde, but yeah.
Lisette Anthony, not a redhead.
Not a redhead.
That's what it says.
That big corkscrew red hair was a wig.
Oh, it's so cute, though. Mm-hmm. She is cute in this film, but my God,
cute.
That poor woman had nothing to do throughout this entire movie. I felt sorry for her. Her character, I mean, she might as well not have existed, really. She ran back and forth in the fortress into very strange places, and that's about it. Poor thing. And then she combined her fire with his. Freddie Jones. Oh, good old Freddie Jones as Ynir.
I am Ynir.
He's the same dude who played Thufir in Dune.
The first step in avoiding a trap is knowing of its existence.
Same guy. I like Freddie Jones. And I like fantasy dialogue because it allows them to be just whoa, Shakespearean, and everything is just so bombastic and
large and in charge.
Large in charge of great portent. I actually like the dialogue. I enjoy that sort of thing. It could just be nostalgia, but I like that sort of thing. Alan Armstrong as Torquil, the leader of the bandit guys. He's that guy. He's been in all kinds of things, and you recognize him.
You do?
I do. You don't recognize him as
No.
he's older than this, of course. That's one thing we can say is these are all actors that you know, but they're really young.
I guess he was in Braveheart, The Mummy Returns.
He's been in a lot of stuff. If you look up Alan Armstrong and you know him from other things.
Born in Durham, England,
He's a Durham boy.
1946.
Man, these people are all old. Freddie Jones was old during this movie, so
That's true.
he was in a lot of stuff way before this film. The next one I will go through is Bernard Bresslaw, who played the Cyclops. I wondered if he could see. Do you think he could see?
I know that he had wrinkles down, alongside alongside his Cyclops eye. So I wonder if he could see through those slits, but probably not well.
There was one scene in particular when they were splitting forces when they were in the swamp, and Colwyn goes to shake his hand, and the Cyclops guy just kind of reaches his hand out, and they kind of sort of make contact. And at that point, I think he's half blind, because it definitely looked like they were, they just kind of missed their high five.
Yeah.
As they were trying to shake hands, and it's like, oh, he can't see very well.
Just grab my hand, please.
And he must have been up on some sort of small stilts or something, right? Because he was really tall. Mm-hmm. So I'm not...
Or just the way they filmed it, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I don't think there was much trick photography going on, because he was there in a line of people walking around.
That's true. Mm-hmm.
So I'm pretty sure it was physical. I just don't... We have Liam Neeson in this movie, babe.
Yeah, and he didn't even play one of the lead roles, did he?
No, he played Keegan, who was just one of the bandit guys. And he looked like he was straight off the set of Excalibur, because he was also in that movie. And he looked almost exactly the same in that one, which would have been just a couple years earlier, so I guess that makes sense. Yeah, he just kind of grins through it. He's a womanizer. He has how many wives? I can't remember how many.
8, something like that.
Didn't matter. Complained about being hungry, and...
Voila.
And voila. Yeah, right. And, when you do that, don't one of your wives live somewhere around here? So, of course, bring the women out to feed them, because the guys can't possibly go out and find anything on their own, right?
Right.
You can't expect adventurers to go out and find food.
No, they don't have time to do that. They gotta bring in. That's why they had camp wenches.
That's what the wenches are for.
Right.
Cavebabble does not condone anything that happens in any film that we watch.
Yes, we don't. Yes. Let's see. What's the thing about, we don't necessarily support
the views expressed by this film.
The views expressed in the movie, right,
are not necessarily of those of Cavebabble or its
correct
parent company, which is
Guns N' Roses. Wait, Popcorn and Roses,
or the Popcorn and Roses Network.
P&R.
T.C. Kirkham and Kim Brown. Check them out.
Does it necessarily be their beliefs and opinions? So
Subject Cinema, catch it like a cold. We have Robbie Coltrane is in this show as Rune. What? Robbie Coltrane? Hagrid. It's Hagrid. Looking quite a bit younger. And you talk about someone who barely had a role in this movie. It was him.
But I did. Once you said, do you recognize him? I said, no. And when you told me who he was, I said, oh, yeah, now I know his voice. Yeah, that's Hagrid's voice. Yeah.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yeah, he was just so much younger. And, of course, as Hagrid, they pack on all kinds of stuff around his face and everything. So stuff around his face, as in a beard. They pack stuff around his face.
That hair around his face, yeah.
That's right. Let's see. Oh, I missed John Welsh, who played the seer, the old blind guy.
Oh,
Who, by the way, everybody's eyes look freaky when they make them all black.
Yeah,
that's
they do.
Creepy. That's one of the creepiest things you can do with eyes, I think. For some
Just
reason,
make them all black.
It just that always gets to me. Mostly because I think, oh God, that looks uncomfortable. Whatever they stuck in their eyes to do that. Ooh, just looks uncomfortable. Anyway, yeah, he was the old man. So obviously he did all of his, I should say, most of his acting earlier, because he was quite old in this movie. The only other one I'll mention is Bernard Archard played King Erig, who was Lissa's dad at the beginning. He was soon dead, gonna bite it at the beginning.
Yeah, he played a short role. Yeah.
And that whole beginning sequence, that was the part that reminded me most of Excalibur.
Yes, very much so.
As the two groups are, I don't want to fight you, I hate you, but I don't want to fight you. Yeah, right. And they're riding on their horses.
Riding to the castle.
Here we come. I guess I'll mention music now. Why not?
Wait a minute. You missed a very important character. David Batley played Ergo. You can't forget the comic relief. I mean, he turned himself into a bird once. That's comedy gold right there.
Well, before you mention music, at the beginning, I just wanted to interject. At the beginning that we were talking a little bit about our Dungeons and Dragons. Well, there's a tie-in. This movie was rumored around the 1980s to have been going to originally be made to tie in with the role-playing game of Dungeons and Dragons.
Oh, yeah.
And it was going to be known as Dragons of Krull, and the screenplay was being written about that time. And but they never, I guess, approached the game company, and so the ability to license it to use for the D&D game never transpired.
With music by Iron Maiden, right?
See, right. And so then now to segue into the one music, because yes, because they couldn't get the D&D, they had to pull in all other kinds of music that they stole from. Well, they didn't steal, because who wrote this? Who wrote the music? Little Jack Horner sat on the corner.
James Horner.
See?
James
I was
Horner.
right.
Now, the biggest thing I will say about this soundtrack, and I will put in examples in as we're going along, is James Horner composed this score like the year after he did Wrath of Khan. Mm-hmm. And this might as well be Wrath of Khan 2, Electric Boogaloo, because, I mean, there are some parts that are very similar to what's in that. And there are stabs of orchestral stabs, string stabs, near the end of the movie that are directly out of Aliens. He used those later on in Aliens. Most definitely the exact same sound. They sound just like that. That's exactly how they sounded. So yeah, I will every now and then here I'll put in a little bit that shows you. When I see it in my notes, this reminded me of that, I will put it in, because, man, oh man, did it remind me of lots of other things. We see the glaive right at the beginning of this video. And it's probably a good thing, because you know how much we see the glaive in this movie? Like 5 minutes total, maybe.
Yeah, and it's like, it's spinning around, and it's like, and I'm glad you remember what it's called, because... it's
can't forget this weapon.
They go and he has to retrieve this weapon, and then it's like, he didn't hardly ever wield it.
Yeah, I thought this was a very memorable weapon. I remember it. That's for sure. It's like a throwing star, not throwing star. It's like a throwing starfish.
I thought it's one. Yeah, well, I guess I won't get to that, but it's wonderful that this weapon, was supposed to be it. The kind of there again, as he was going to get this weapon, it was very Excalibur-y.
Oh yes.
Only the one true person can retrieve this weapon, and but like you said, it didn't seem to be that powerful of an object when he finally used it.
And he was even told by Thufir, who is not Thufir, by the way. I can't remember. Ynir. He was told by Ynir that he would know the time that he would use it.
Yeah.
And he kept fingering the darn thing as he was going along, kind of like, Like now? Am I feeling it now?
How about now?
But when it was time, he knew it. He had a big smile on his face when it was time to use the glaive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He knew.
When he's going to get the glaive, he's in that. First of all, he climbs that mountain in some gorgeous country, which I can say they go through beautiful country throughout this whole movie.
It's Italy, right?
And some great, that's what it said. They thanked Italy at the end, so it was Italian mountains. And anyway, in that cave, that was that not lava that he reached into?
I think that's what they were trying to portray. That was lava. Mm-hmm.
But I guess if you can hold fire in your hand from the water, I guess you just are naturally,
reach into lava. Mm-hmm.
I mean, maybe that's it. Maybe that's what he stored up. Maybe that recharged him for the end of the film.
Oh, maybe.
No, actually, she did. She recharged him at the end of the film. She gave him her light at the end.
That's right.
Oh my God.
That's their wedding vows.
Right.
Sharing their light.
See, now her dad, the king at the beginning, it's like the opposite of every other movie that I think I've ever seen with an arranged marriage. He's trying to talk her out of it. And
yeah.
It's not, I'm sorry, daughter, this will unite our kingdoms. He's like, it's the opposite. He's saying, I hate these guys. Well, don't do this. And she said, but Dad, we have to unite our kingdom.
We must have the alliance. Only if we're united do we stand a chance against them.
Then I'll make a treaty with King Thorold. It's not necessary for you to marry his son.
It's the only way to guarantee the alliance.
Right.
He said, but
it's funny. Yes, she was going into an arranged marriage that she arranged. No, wait, that's not an arranged marriage.
No, if you arrange it behind Dad's back, or actually just in front of his back, which would be his front. No, it's
but of
someone
course, when
else.
The guy shows up, it's like hubba. No wonder she arranged that marriage. Yeah.
If you're the one arranging it and you're the one getting married, it's just a wedding.
Yeah, exactly.
So, yeah, it's not somebody else isn't doing it to you. It can't be arranged.
Right.
Oh, anyway. So, of course, the groom-to-be shows up all dusty from the road and immediately kisses her after they have a short conversation. And I thought, really? Is that really what you want to do at that point? He was all dusty and nasty.
Well, that was status quo, right?
He's got road mouth. He does. He's all pasty.
Last time he brushed.
I just got here. But anyway, of course they are not going to get married because you can't. It's the beginning of the film. Something's going to happen, right? So they're doing so they do that old fire ritual thing where they're about to get married, and along come the Slayers. And they break in and they kidnap her.
Before they can finish their vows, so they're truly not married yet. Oh.
Is that really a thing? Let's say is it really that way? Does anyone actually think you're not married if you're there doing the ceremony? As long as you don't say I do, that's it. What is legally binding? I mean, if you sign papers, it's legally binding. That's the only way.
Right. So I guess at that point in time, but yeah, do you sign the papers before you? Yeah, you sign the papers before you get married.
Well, they kept trying to sign that scroll, but the flames kept burning them up.
The flames kept burning it up.
Yeah, they should have thought of that. And so he, of course, is doing pretty well in his little Slayer battles, even though they could have shot him at any time. They didn't. But every time, I love fantasy fighting because every time their swords meet, it's just like all of this electricity flying all over the place.
Blue and red, so you can tell
great.
The different.
Oh my God, he knocks stuff. He cuts rope and knocks things down on them and goes swinging across the room like Robin Hood. Oh God, he is so good.
But now you kept saying how gorgeous this film was. Yeah, because from the last time you saw it.
Oh yeah, because we watched
the Blu-ray version of it.
Yeah,
right?
It's by far the best I've seen this movie. It looked
crisp
great.
And pretty.
Yeah, it really looked great. So you could tell the money that they put into the production.
Yeah, very much so.
And honestly, for the most part, even the blocking, the matting on most of the scenes, except for one, fire horses. Don't get me started on them. Most of it, they look it looks pretty good. There aren't very many, usually when something's matted on something else in those old movies, you have a big dark line around the people and stuff like that shows up. Not so bad,
Not
especially
too, yeah.
on Blu-ray. I mean, it doesn't look amazing or anything, but it looked pretty good.
It does say that the trivia says this picture was one of the most expensively produced motion pictures of its time.
Yeah, see, and it really does show it. And I'm sure it was a flop when it came out, or else, or else you would have seen it, babe. You
Right.
would have seen it.
Right.
I always wonder about fortresses in general, because fantasy films suffer from this. They always have these castles out in the middle of some barren field. Like this one is just like this low grass and rocks all over the place, right? Mm-hmm. And I think, weren't most castles surrounded by farmland, things like that?
All the time,
people
because
to
they
support
were needed to support
to support the castle.
the castle, right? Mm-hmm.
You don't just put your castle out in the middle of nowhere with no water around or anything like that. It's just in the middle of nowhere. That's probably not the best place to put your castle.
Well, but we probably just didn't show us the fields,
Yeah, that's true.
Farming fields. Yeah,
I mean, we had
that wasn't part of the story. Yeah.
We had to get moving,
Yeah.
The Glave's not going to wait forever,
They used 10 sound stages for this, including the gigantic 007 stage.
Yeah, this is a Pinewood production.
Pine Studios. They used the 007 stage for the swamp scenes.
Yeah, see, and they were great. And there were several, there was one place, where they were camped when, I keep calling him Thufir, where the old guy goes to the Spider Woman's place. Mm-hmm. When he comes down out of that and he's crossing that stream, they obviously added fog effect and everything in there.
Yeah.
That looks so good.
Yeah, they did. Mm-hmm.
They did a good job of lighting and putting the fog in there. It's just, some of it is wasted on what was going on. But So, yes, he climbs the world in his stripy tights and gets his glaive. That was before he went and he found the bandits, right?
Correct.
Yeah. Which he comes across, I guess, about halfway through. And there are a bunch of them, but you only get to know a handful so that the others can die quickly.
I know they did. They had this. They went from 2 travelers to a lot of travelers, and then
as a matter of fact,
at the end,
they ended up with hardly anybody.
Yeah.
But you said at one point when they picked up the seer and the little kid that was his helper. Mm-hmm. Man, they had a big long line of people.
Yeah, they did. It's like you can't travel very fast with that many.
It's like no wonder you were hungry not too long after that. It's just I would be hungry too. No wonder you need more wives. I tell you what. I especially enjoyed. There was one zooming shot where they are zooming in on her, and it's like going through the fortress, zooming in to this giant eye.
Yeah.
And she's standing in the center of the giant eye. And that was an actual set. The whole eye shape looked like it was a set that she was standing in. And I thought that was an especially effective thing. It was really cool. They swooped right in and boom, here's this big eye. That was good stuff. At the 29-minute mark, if anybody's listening out there, if you're watching this movie, are you listening?
I hope they are.
29-minute mark of this film, I swear this is the intro to the TriStar Pictures theme song. So it sounds something like this. See, don't those sound quite a bit alike at the beginning?
Similar.
And the next part sounds like the Columbia Pictures theme song. Listen to these.
Very similar.
And as is always the case in 80s fantasy films, maybe it's the same in all fantasy films, at some point the comic relief is going to arrive.
Help! I'm drowning! This might have been quicksand! I might have been sucked to my death while you stood there gawping!
Yes.
And in this
Well,
film,
yeah, I guess like you said, because that's classic of the '80s, is to throw in a comic relief.
it was this mage. I guess magic use. Well, he could transform himself. So what's that? I don't know.
Shapeshifter.
Yeah, he was a
No,
shapeshifter.
he wasn't a shapeshifter because he used spells to transform
Yeah.
himself.
So anyway, whatever his magic was.
I am Ergo the Magnificent, short in stature, tall in power, narrow of purpose, and wide of vision.
Did he come in a meteor?
Seemed like it. Some type of fireball.
Is some sort of fireball that comes and lands in that pond? And he never travels that way again. How do?
Yeah, at least not during this movie.
Oh, and it's terrible. And he's got all of these spells written on these tiny pieces of paper that he just carries around, I guess. I don't know how he hasn't lost half his spells by now, but
I know.
He's always making threats, and all he can really do is turn himself into different animals. And it just reminded me of Willow and Matt Mardigan, who changes herself into or different things, or Willow changing her into things. I don't like that. That part's not my favorite. Oh, right before they were going to meet the bandits, they're coming down. Well, it's a set, but they're coming down this little pathway, and the and the guys are making a big show of it being rough going for them to walk. And that's because they're walking down the rocks on the side of the path instead of walking in the path.
In the path. Uh-huh.
It was just funny to me. It's something that caught my eye. Just stay on the path with your horses, you idiot.
You need to be twisting your ankle on those rocks.
Oh, but it looked so painful, and they were having such a hard time, babe. Anyway.
Did you know that when they went to release this movie here in the United States, that Columbia Pictures, the then president of Columbia Pictures, Frank Price, thought that it would help ticket sales if they had an unknown American actress rather than an unknown English actress. So he actually dubbed all of Lizette Anthony's dialogue with a American actress,
Seriously?
Lindsay Krause.
Why?
And Lizette, of course, was unaware that her voice was to be dubbed. It doesn't say whether that ticked her off or not, but
it would tick me off.
Yeah, me too.
Why bother doing all those lines if it's just going to be someone else?
Dub over somebody else.
That's terrible.
So I would be curious. I mean, we don't know this. I wonder the version that we had, if that was Lindsay Krause's voice.
Oh God! That
we listened to.
Wouldn't that just be the ultimate injury? Okay.
Yeah, it would.
You're like second build in this film, and yet here you are having almost nothing to do, running around the castle, and the little dialogue you have is dubbed by someone else.
Yeah, so you're acting your heart out for the little bit of, and then bam, insult to injury.
Oh my God!
It's not even your voice.
No.
Poor thing.
Oh, one thing I wanted was to learn more about the Slayers, because when they are killed, these little alien burster things coming out of them and dig into the ground. And where do they go after that?
I know that they made 40 of these Slayers for the movie.
Oh, did they?
And 20 of them were manufactured in 10 days.
Oh my God. There was kind of this weird combination, like of the good guys at the beginning at the White Fortress. They all had like this plastic armor that looked futuristic at the same time. It was like a combination medieval future thing. And it kind of worked for me. I didn't mind it that much.
But they always seemed to be so clumsy walking around, and it didn't seem like it was easy to move in.
No, I think everybody's armor was that way because it was, No, they've gotten better with making armor and making it look like you can move around. Even though I have to say that in a lot of films, especially it seems like the Chinese films where they have all this elaborate armor, you can tell it's all rubberized. When they move around, it flops around and bends when they move and stuff. And that I don't really like. It's the same as like the Marvel movies, like Thor's costume and everything. It doesn't look realistic. It looks kind of rubbery on him. But yeah, I kind of like the Slayers and the other armor. I thought it was all right. Didn't bother me at all.
But like you said, when they fought and they exited their armor into the dirt. Yeah, where did they go?
Making this god-awful noise, by the way. Isn't that a horrific noise?
Where did they go? Did they
They
go
burrowed into the ground.
and die? Or did they go back to the Black Fortress? Or
Yeah, how did they move around is what I wanted to know.
yeah.
And every fantasy, and that was all in the swamp. Most of that was in the swamp.
So they didn't ever really, the movie didn't ever really explain that, but
No.
I guess that's okay.
Every fantasy film also has to have quicksand, you know.
Mm-hmm.
You have to have a scene like that where
Yeah.
someone always dies. If there's quicksand in a movie, someone has to die in that quicksand. You can't just pull them out and say, whoa, we should really avoid that. Nope.
Somebody has to drown in the quicksand.
And there's a changeling that comes and takes over the seer. Poor guy.
Before you move on to the changeling, I'd like to know,
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
back to the guy who did die in the quicksand.
Uh-huh.
Something important must have been in his backpack, his tote bag, because he throws that. He wants them to save his. But they never did reveal what was so important.
No, they didn't. Unless there was something that we missed before, because I thought the same thing. It's like, here, take my bag of crap.
Let me die, but don't let my bag sink.
I'm not quite sure why they couldn't have pulled him out of there either. He had a pretty good grip on him, and they could have just yanked.
But while we were distracted by that, of course, and like you said, then the body double.
Yeah, the changeling comes and kills the seer. So that it was working for the beast as well, because it had those hands. Those hands appear and
possessed by the beast.
And it grabs the seer and kills him and takes his place as a changeling. And it is discovered by the Cyclops ends up killing him. But after the swamp spit him up. Why did the swamp spit him up?
Yeah, because it didn't spit up the other dead person.
No, we didn't notice anybody else. It just suddenly...
Yeah.
So that the Cyclops could
see
find him, of course.
quickly.
That's why. Oh, okay, here we go. At the 1 hour and 3 minute mark, that's where the Wrath of Khan music is there. I will do a comparison. Here's the Wrath of Khan. And here's the music from this film. See what I mean?
Very similar, huh?
Very similar, yeah. To a certain theme. I can't remember the name of the theme, but I did notice that Liam Neeson doesn't know how to tie up a horse bridle.
No, poor horse.
I felt so sorry for all the horses. They were not very nice to them.
No.
Oh my gosh. And those were the fire horses. And what were those? They weren't, Clydesdales are bigger than, were they?
Yeah, they were Clydesdales. Yeah, because it did say in the trivia that they were Clydesdales.
Oh, okay. See, I guess they were, I just associate bigger than that with Clydesdales, I guess. But they had those distinctive hooves, the fuzzy hooves. But there are other breeds that have that too. But Liam Neeson in particular, that poor thing, there was the knotted rope right in that poor horse's eyeball almost.
Did not know how to put
And he emphasized whatever it was he was saying by slapping this poor thing on its neck. And I thought, oh, that horse did not enjoy that at all.
Good thing they were well-trained horses.
Fire horses, they're well-trained, all right. It's the most ridiculous sequence in the whole film.
Yeah, that was.
Fire mares.
Yeah.
The fire mares is what they call them, which made me wonder, wait a minute, are there no studs in there? Are they all mares? Are there fire studs too? Or I hope so, or else your breed's not going to last very long. They are able to
maybe the fire studs can't run fast like the mares can.
Oh, I'm sure they can't.
Maybe.
I'm sure they can't. They're watching TV at home, wondering where their dinner is.
Yeah.
Like all of the other men in this movie. Ooh, it was the 80s after all.
Yeah, that's true.
Anyway, why are these things so docile? As soon as they get the ropes on, it's like, they're like what did they say? They're like dogs or something. I can't remember what they said. They had some line to explain why the horses weren't bucking them all over the place. And I can't remember what he said. Something like they were tame as something or other. Mm-hmm. And they start riding because they have found out, which we didn't cover. They found out that they have a day to travel like 1,000 leagues or something.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Because the old timer was able to hook up with an old flame of his, who of course lives at the center of a giant white spider web.
Of course.
Of course. I guess there is always one person who can get you on your way in fantasy, right? Mm-hmm. Because
that's not where the fire mares were taking them, was it? The fire mares were taking them to the place of the...
They didn't know where they needed to go until he came down out of Spiderweb.
Right.
In other words, he's the one that told them that they needed to go that far, and to go that far, they needed the fire mares.
The fire mares, right.
Right. Mm-hmm. So it took him finding getting that information from her.
Right.
But
who was his wife?
Who used to be his wife? Yeah.
And she killed their son.
Which meant that she had to die too, right? Because they aren't going to let her get away.
She was the Black Widow, because she was being punished for killing their son.
Oh. With a little stop motion animation spider on a web, a white one. But here's what I was wondering. Okay. You have the seer, who is supposedly the only person who can tell them where it's at, right? Mm-hmm. Except for the lady I used to be married for, who can also tell us where it's at. This information wasn't offered. Is it not offered because he knew he would have to sacrifice his life for that? That must have been why, right?
Had to have been.
He's like, I didn't want to die, but now I have to.
It's like, oh man, but I'm an old man now, so I guess it's okay.
It's because she has that hourglass. That she breaks the hourglass and gets the sand out of it and puts it in one of his hands. And he can't do anything to stop that. Seriously, can't do anything to stop that from falling out of his hand?
I guess not.
He's not allowed to put it in something else or...
In his pockets, maybe he didn't have any pockets.
Flip his glove inside out, stick it in that, stick that in his pocket with a rubber band around it, and put that inside a little baggie. Can't do that. I don't even know how he got out of there anyway. He was an old man trying to walk on those ropes one-handed. There's no way. He couldn't have gotten out of there. So yeah, they had to hop on the fire mares, which is the worst effects of the whole thing. They're just rocking back and forth on these horses, and their feet are on fire, and they're going super fast.
Yeah.
And they have all these scenes with all these backdrops with these flames going across it. They even go through the sky at one point.
Yeah.
They jump off a cliff and they go across the sky like Santa Claus.
Santa Claus is coming. Yeah. Like Santa's slave.
Nothing says fantasy quite like a man standing on the saddle of a galloping flaming horse.
They did.
Launching into the sky.
I was wondering if the Beast and the Slayers both were maybe inspired by the Xenomorph design. They kind of had that alien thing going, and some of the surreal looking designs of the castle and whatnot kind of reminded me of Giger's work. Anyway, just something I noticed. But like you said, as they're on these fire mirrors, it's like, thank God we arrived on time and we set the whole world on fire back behind.
Yeah, it's just, we called utter chaos as we got here, but...
Because why? It had to have started those fields on fire, right? And the forests and whatever else they went through, it had to have.
We would think so, especially that field of dry grass. It had to have burnt up the...
Had to have.
Yeah.
So they reach the fortress in time. They start climbing it, but the Cyclops stayed behind. He would not ride with them on the fire mares because Cyclopses, one of their curses is they know the day they're going to die, right? And he
knew he was dying that day.
He knew he was dying that day, and he was staying behind because I guess he doesn't know where he's supposed to die.
Right, but if he doesn't fight the fact that he's going to die that day, then supposedly it's not painful, is what the little boy said.
Oh, is that what it was? So he was staying behind so he didn't feel pain.
So he didn't have to die painfully, yeah.
So they left him behind, and they reach there, and they're climbing up the fortress, but getting smacked down by slayers who are coming out of these little alcoves and shooting at them. And here comes the Cyclops on one of the fire mirrors.
Said, I might as well die painfully.
But when did he decide to do that?
Yeah, well, I guess shortly after they left, because he caught up with them pretty quickly.
Maybe he went to that bumhole-looking rock that they were at, walked back and forth a few times with the horses, said, "Whoa, what am I doing here?
It's like, I need to help them. If I'm going to die, I might as well die a hero.
I take it back. I want to go with you." And then he jumps on his horse.
And when he finally does, he acts, of course, as a Cyclops shield, and then he holds the door open so they all can get inside. And I guess that's why, I guess it's a G-rated film in New Zealand, but PG for us, probably because as the Cyclops is getting crushed, there is no blood.
No.
Blood organs
No,
oozing.
I was wondering what was going on. His face just looked the same, except it was 6 inches wide.
Kind of got absorbed into the fortress.
Some of this movie didn't happen. That's all I'm saying. It couldn't have.
Well, we knew he was going to die, so I guess they didn't want to dwell on that. It's like, though they did try to dwell on it because they tried to prop the door open and it just didn't work.
So this is the part as they're making their way through the fortress and getting shot that one by one they're just picked off.
Yeah.
All of our main characters are just, blop, 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 blop. There goes Liam Neeson. Blop. There goes Robbie Coltrane. Blop. He's gone. They're all gone except for a core of 4 or 5 of them as they're making their way through. And at one point, he being Colwyn, what's his name?
Colwyn.
Yeah, Colwyn, the main character says, okay, from here on, I must go alone. And he's got this big smile on his face.
Yeah.
Like he cannot wait to leave those guys behind and go on his own. And I can understand why. They're dropping like flies, man. Yeah. It's dangerous to hang out with them.
Not much help at that. Well, they were a distraction. Yeah, they were taking the heat so he could go off by himself.
So Princess is stuck in this clamshell-looking thing, and now he can use the glaive. How did he know at that point? Was there some? I guess he just knew. He said he would know, so I guess he just knew.
How do you know that you're gonna and for needing to use it sure took an awful long time to cut through whatever wall to get to her. It's like, okay, come on, that. And what we get it now. Just all of a sudden have the wall cut.
See, and he's not even, once he throws the glaive out there, it just flies on its own. It's not the way that he threw it or anything. He just chucks it up there like a drone, and it just flies around, and he guides it with his thought because he's like moving his head and his hands.
Yeah,
and
right.
It starts cutting through that wall, and I don't know why that was so jagged. Why didn't get the glaive just cut a circle or something?
Right, I couldn't exactly.
Yeah, right.
I guess that was just because, like I said, it was controlled by his mind, and his mind was, okay, this is the first time he's using it. He's practicing.
Oh, you think so? So you think it was jagged because of that?
Because he was having a hard time controlling his weapon.
Yeah. Well, you know how that goes. It was his first time, so.
It was his first time wielding his weapon.
He said, stand back. I don't know how big this gets. So he cuts in. He jumps in there. Ta-da! Everything's going to be great, right?
Yeah.
No, there's the beast. And exactly how big is the beast?
Well, they gave us the impression he was pretty big.
It's like King Kong size, and then he's half that size, and then he's huge, and then he's not, and
yeah, he kept going back and forth on how, because then when Colwyn was trying to retrieve his glaive, all of a sudden the beast didn't seem to be much bigger than Colwyn.
No, he wasn't, because when he sat up, he wasn't that much bigger.
Right, because when his hand reached up to cover the glaive that was in his chest, it was, not. Perspective between the glaive and the beast's hand wasn't, that big.
Oh, see, because he has the glaive floating in front of the beast, and it's like fainting this way, fainting that way, and then it comes in and it stabs him once, and then and it buries itself in him, and the guy falls over, and you think he's dead. at that point. And then Colwyn tries to retrieve the glaive, like grabbing a lightsaber from, like using a force powers to have him,
bring it to him with his mind.
Yeah, to him with his mind, and it's like, and they drew that out far too long. It was like
they did that.
You could just almost hear the glaive going, oh, I just can't. Oh no, I can't.
It's like either retrieve it or don't retrieve it. Just enough. Like, like I said, that went on too long too.
Like, God dang it! Now I have to walk across the room and get it. Yeah, and that's when he sits up, and then by our powers united, she has to give Colwyn her flame.
Take the fire from my hand.
She gives him her flaming loins. No, her flaming hand, and then he can summon fire, man.
Right, they have to be married because they all of a sudden realize it's not the.
Oh, is that what it was?
It's their strength together.
Oh,
that
that's
kill
right.
the beast.
Yeah, because she was looking, well, it's you. It's your strength. No, it's ours.
It's our strength.
It's not the glaive, it's you.
Alyssa, it's us. It's us he can't defeat.
So now he can use the power of fire. So who the hell needs a glaive anymore when you have flamethrowers that you can...
Throwing hands. Yeah.
Right. And that's what actually kills the beast. Forget the glaive. And, the beast dies. And then, of course, because the beast died, his fortress all falls apart.
Of course, yeah.
Why?
Mm-hmm. That makes sense. I mean, that happens frequently in these films.
Yeah, I know, but why? I understand that, but why?
Because, the fortress was there for the beast, and the beast is gone, so fortress needs to go.
But it's when we die, our house doesn't fall apart.
I know. Well, it does over time.
Well, yeah, okay.
Nobody takes care of it.
Yeah. Well, okay. I'm not saying in 20 years this place is going to fall down. It was immediately. And so they have to climb out. And then not only do they climb out, they run probably 1.5 miles away from this thing in about 20 seconds. They were a long way away by the time that
Yeah, they were.
And it blows up, literally. It goes up as pieces.
And like you said, that went on forever too.
They seriously, they spent some money on that effect, and they were going to show us every little second of it.
Every little detail of that destruction.
Every bit that fell off or fell up, I should say.
But it didn't. First it was showing while they were in it that it was crumbling down, and then all of a sudden when they're out of it, it's shooting up. It's like returning to whence it came.
Up into the sky, and I'm thinking, are all the worms abandoned in the swamp and wherever else they died?
Yeah. Where'd they?
Oh, poor slayers. And that was it. And there were there was Colwyn, there was the leader of the bandit dudes, there was the princess, and there was the little kid, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's all that's left. And in fantasy film, or actually films in general, action films, everybody is dead, right? But yet they're sitting there smiling.
And happy to be alive. And then the thing is they obviously ended the film with the thought that they were possibly going to make a sequel because, they kept reiterating that these two were going to get married and have a son that was going to rule the galaxy.
Yeah.
So they eventually were obviously going to, but I take it Krull 2 never occurred.
No, because I'm thinking Krull 1 didn't make very much money. I don't know. Let's see here. Box this Mojo. Let's just see how much money Krull made. Oh, they don't have a production budget, so it made $16.5 million in the United States. So it was number 4 on its opening weekend, which. Oh, yeah. What was the first one? It opened on the same weekend as National Lampoon's Vacation.
Oh, well, rough.
Woo. Oh, my God. Okay, here we go. Here's what it was up against at that time, babe. In 1983, Krull opened in 4th position. And I just said the number 1 movie that weekend was the opening of National Lampoon's Vacation. It was the second week of Jaws 3D.
Mm-hmm.
And it was the 10th weekend of this little film called Return of the Jedi.
Oh. So no wonder it didn't make much, poor guy.
Which at that point, 10 weeks into its run, Return of the Jedi had made 201 million
Wow.
so far. That was a lot of money in 2003. I mean, in 1983. Wow, look at that. Trading Places was still at the theater. Oh my God, a reissue of Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. War Games was out.
Wow.
Octopussy was out.
No wonder it didn't make much.
Flashdance was out. Mr. Mom was out.
Wow.
And Superman 3 was out. Look at all that.
No wonder I never saw Krull.
Oh my God, and that wonderful John Travolta classic, the follow-up to Saturday Night Fever, Staying Alive.
Staying alive, staying alive.
Krull barely beat the third week of Staying Alive. That's pretty cool. Yeah, and that was what was going on, and that was Krull. Anything to add? Do you have any other trivia?
Well, like I said, I didn't fall asleep during this movie, so as you guys know, that's how we rate. So it obviously kept my attention. And I'm glad I saw it. And I think, if you don't know what else to watch, I think you should watch this just to experience it and see what you think, and then tell us what you think.
Krull, if you have nothing else to watch.
Exactly. See, yeah, I know.
Thumbs up.
Thumbs up if you have nothing else to watch. No, I wouldn't say that. I enjoyed it. Yeah.
I did too. And like I say, this is one of my guilty, and it's not really that guilty because lots of fantasy films from the 80s have some cringe-worthy moments, and this one has fewer than most, honestly.
Right.
And some great sets and some awesome locations.
Yeah.
And it actually holds up visually. It's pretty good. So that's that. Hey, tell us what you think of Krull. We would like to know. Cavebabble@gmail.com. Please write to us. We will read it no matter what it is. Spam even. We'll read spam.
Oh, okay.
I will.
Spam,
I'll do it.
spam.
I'll do it. You may join our Facebook group. Go to Facebook, search for Cavebabble, join our group. Now I actually have something to post since we're recording today. Yay! Go to cavebabble.com and see a list of our shows and just how long it's been since our last one that we recorded.
It's probably a record.
You can go to iTunes and sign up for our show on iTunes. I would appreciate that. I know if you're like me and you're looking for new podcasts on iTunes, I kind of pay attention to how often it's been updated in the last year. I know it is part of my decision making, and we will do better. We'll try.
Well, you should post some of our D&D stuff, because that's, of course, I don't know. It's fun for us, but it might not be good listening.
Yeah, I think it would just definitely have to be a highlights type of thing. I would have to go and edit, and we have probably 20 hours of content at this point.
And like I said, because it's fun for us doesn't necessarily mean it's fun to listen to. But we have watched a lot of movies. We just need to podcast on them because we've been going and seeing.
We have
quite a few. And
so we need to do a catch-up show. Catching up with Cavebabble. We can do that.
And we even just saw that should be the next one, or Shin Godzilla?
Watching Shin Godzilla.
Yeah, so that should be our next podcast, So
you don't have
can't
to
say anything more. We should just tell them next week, stay tuned for Shin Godzilla.
Oh my God, yes. Let's do that.
Okay.
Sounds good. Till next.
Of course, next weekend's going to be the totality.
Okay, let's talk about that. It's time. 1 week from tomorrow. The eclipse, the total eclipse in the United States here, running right through the middle of flyover country, as they say.
We are right in the direct path of totality.
Yes, we are. Jefferson City is right over. It's right over us.
Yeah, we will have 2.5 minutes of total darkness.
The shadow of that there moon between us and the sun's going to fall down on us. And oh my Lord, is this state trying to prepare for the worst.
Yeah.
Because
hope for the best. Prepare for the worst, hope for the best.
Everyone's assuming that we'll have 450 million people here, and they're all here to rob us and rape us. And
where it's like, no, they're coming to experience the totality. It's our own local thugs that'll be the ones causing the trouble.
I just can't wait to see what it's like and to take pictures of the crowd. So just see how big it is. We have hours of stuff that we're doing at the library. Ugh.
Yeah, lots of activities going on.
Lots of activities that I'll be right in the middle of, and
NASA's coming to
I just love how you
broadcast
call it
from our-
NASA. It's as if it's the capital of the Bahamas.
Yeah, NASA. NASA's coming. NASA. is
NASA.
coming.
NASA's coming.
Broadcast.
Oh, the British are coming.
NASA's coming. NASA's
Everyone's coming here. They're all coming here. So you can all see us. Just come to our house. You know where it's at. I know you do. One way or another, it'll be over in a little over a week.
Man, it's going to be a cool experience.
Yeah, it should be.
Never
Cannot
experienced totality. I've experienced partial solar eclipse, but never totality.
Yeah, that's
So
going
this
to be
is gonna be
something
awesome.
else. Can't wait. As long as we have an unobstructed view, no clouds, and you can look straight up almost.
Yep, we've got our
It'll be good.
glasses, our eclipse glasses. I'm going to throw down a blanket in the front yard and watch the whole thing.
And I'll watch it with everybody else in the middle of the city. So out in front of the library, assuming I
It
can
was
get
smart.
outside.
I
in time.
asked for that day off of work months ago.
I didn't have a choice. I knew we would have programming.
Yeah,
So.
you've got a program going on. So.
Yeah.
But thank goodness Amber and Kevin live on that side of the river, and they can.
Yeah.
You can.
That's what I'm anticipating is the lines of cars everywhere.
Yeah.
So, all right. Anyway, this is
I'll
Eclipse
be
with
event.
Cavebabble.
Yeah.
You'll never hear about it again.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks for all the downloads and listens, and we're out of here.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Cavebabble.
Podcasting's choice. From coast to coast, continent to continent, right here 24/7.
The